Hi guys, I'm Tutor Phil, and this video is about writing an effective visual analysis. And let's get right to it. To write an effective visual analysis, you need to do two things. So all you need to do is break the image into parts, that's number one, and then discuss the relationship between them. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. So it is a simple 6-step process, and let's get right to it. Now here's the image that we will be analyzing in this tutorial. Here are the steps. In step one, we're going to identify the elements, just to identify them. Okay, let's put on our Sherlock Holmes hat and take another good look at the image. So what do we observe? So number one, in this image we have children. Now how many children? We have four children. We have 4 pairs of children's hands. We also have 2 bracelets on one of the wrists. And these are just the basics. Okay, these are some of the human and some of the non-human elements. What else? We have the hands that are holding soil, right? They're holding soil. Now each handful of soil also contains a tiny plant in it. And finally we see the green lawn or the ground on which the children stand. In other words, we're identifying every single thing that we see in the image, and so that it's not just a blur, it's not just a picture. It's no longer one picture, it's a bunch of elements. And we want to make sure we capture everything we can see immediately. So what else do we observe? Now we observe this would be the next level of paying attention to this. Okay, we're going a little bit deeper. So we notice that the children's hands are arranged in a circle. So we do see that. We also notice that the children's skin color varies from lighter to darker. Some of them are a little bit darker, some of them are a little bit lighter. And we notice that the children wear summer clothes. So that's another thing we notice. This is not the winter, clearly, right? This is the summer. Okay. Next we're going to detect symbols and connections. In other words, we're going to be interpreting some of the things that we have observed already. We're making some interpretations here. So let's identify some of the symbols. Now, children symbolize future and hope, right? Because they are children. Next, their hands form a circle, creating a unifying effect. Now, a circle kind of unifies, right? The symbol is unity, and there's power in unity. See, we're already deriving some meaning from the elements. Next, children's hands hold soil, and soil symbolizes Earth, perhaps planet Earth. In other words, note that another word for soil is earth. So we're going to continue. The earth holds young plants which symbolize the environment and the ecology. Okay, that's another symbol. Now the young plants also symbolize youth and the future, because notice that the human beings in this image are young, and also the plants in this image are young. Both are both symbolize childhood and the future. Next, the children wear summer clothes, and summer symbolizes what? It symbolizes happiness and freedom, because this is when children are on vacation and enjoy life. So there's no school, right? So there's freedom, happiness, and the joy of life, that type of thing. So we're inferring all of this stuff from this image. You see, these are some of the things that we need to do. And we're not even writing anything here, we're just jotting down the notes. We're just noticing things and taking notes. Now let's find some connections and relationships between the elements and some of the symbols that we've seen. This entire image seems to be about the future of the environment. Now, how do we know that? Because of all the things that we have inferred, right? The children symbolize the future. The plants symbolize the future and the environment. Now, why is this future important? It's important because of the future generations symbolized by the children. You see, we can infer that, we can infer all of that from just by looking at this image more closely. Now we're going to continue. Now there's a strong sense of long-term future is conveyed, because not only do the children hold plants, but these are baby plants, right? These are also young plants, and the message is, or could be, that children hold the future of other children. Okay, it's a bit of a repetition, it's a bit of a tautology, but don't worry about it. We're just taking notes. We're just thinking aloud, and we're taking notes. And we're going to use that as we're writing out our essay. Let's continue. The variety of skin colors implies diversity. There we go, that's another thing. So also the hands form a circle. So together these two elements can mean global diversity. Why global? Because of the circle. Why diversity? Because of different skin colors. All right, global diversity. There we go. We can definitely infer that from the image. Now that we have identified all the elements and the relationships among them and all the symbols, now we're ready to formulate our thesis. And our thesis could be: the ecological future of our planet is in the hands of the children all over the world. This is one interpretation. Here's another one. Humanity must be mindful of the ecological future of our planet for the sake of the children all over the world. And these are two different statements. Now let's see which one could work a little bit better. I think the first one places the responsibility for the future of the planet on children. Okay. Now the second one places this responsibility on the entire humanity. Now which one makes more sense? Now to me, I think that therefore the second statement just makes more sense. Why? Because we're putting the responsibility on the entire humanity rather than on kids. Okay? So based on that, because it's more logical, let's write out the thesis. Now this photo conveys the message that humanity must be mindful of the ecological future of our planet for the sake of the children all over the world. You see how we came up with this main point based on the elements that we identified. Just by identifying all the elements, all the symbols and connections and relationships among them and taking notes, we can put together a thesis just like this one. Okay, and formulate it. Why? Because now we have the building material to formulate a complete thought, a complete main point. And let's say that this is the complete main point that we're making in this essay. Now, let's write out the complete thesis statement. And I do have a full tutorial on the subject, and I'm going to include the link in the description. And we're going to use the power of 3. Now, how come? Because 3 is the perfect number of supporting ideas. Now, how come? Now, we're talking about the image meaning. To analyze an image is really to discuss its meaning. Now, we have 3. If we're using the power of 3, we have 3 parts here. Human elements. This is an example of how we could do the power of 3. We have human elements, we have non-human elements, and we have the relationships among them. Okay, that's one way to do it. Here's another way of doing it. We could talk about the elements, we could talk about symbols, and then we could discuss the connections among them. That's another way of doing it, but it's also the power of 3. All right, so here are supporting points. Let's decide on these. Number 1, the photographer uses the image of children to symbolize the future. Okay, we already know that from the work that we've done previously. So this is just the one that we're using here. Next, the non-human elements in the photo symbolize life and planet Earth. Okay, the soil, the circle, the little baby plants. These are the non-human elements. And next, the author connects many ideas represented by images to get the message across. Okay, let's write out the complete thesis statement. And we have everything we need to do that. So here's the complete thesis statement. This photo conveys the message that humanity must be mindful of the ecological future of our planet for the sake of the children all over the world. The photographer uses the image of children to symbolize the future. The non-human elements in the photo symbolize life and planet Earth. The author connects ideas represented by these images to get the message across. You see, and that's a complete thesis statement because it has the main point and it has all the 3 supporting points. And we also have a full paragraph going. In step 5, we're going to write out the body of the essay. And I also have a full tutorial on how to write body paragraphs, and I'll include the link in the description. Now remember, your thesis statement is also your outline. So we already know our main point. It's humanity must save the ecology. Okay, that's pretty much our main point. Now we have 3 main sections. How come? Because we have 3 supporting points: human elements, non-human elements, and relationships among them. We have 3 sections. Each of them can include 1 or more paragraphs. So don't think in terms of paragraphs necessarily. Think in terms of sections. And a section could be 1 paragraph or more. Now here's our body paragraph structure. A body paragraph begins with a lead sentence, and it's like a thesis for the paragraph. It's the most general statement. Next, we have an explanation, right? Between 1 and 3 sentences we'll usually do. And finally, we have examples. Also between 1 and 2, maybe 3 examples. But even one will do. 2 is better, 3 maybe, depending on how many words you really need in this essay. Okay, and that's our body paragraph anatomy. And let's do an example of a body paragraph. And let's take one from section 2 where we're talking about the non-human elements. The non-human elements of the picture are the plants and the soil. The plants are very young, they're just sprouts, and that signifies the fragility of life. The soil in which they grow evokes the image of our planet Earth. Soil also symbolizes fertility. The clothes the children wear are summer clothes, and summer signifies freedom because this is the time of a long vacation for school children. Perhaps the author implies that the environment affects people's freedom. All you're really doing here is you're using the information from the notes that you took when you were analyzing the image, when you were taking down the notes about all the elements, all the symbols, and all the relationships among them, and you're constructing a complete paragraph going from general to specific. Finally, in step 6, we add an introduction and a conclusion. Here's the structure of an introductory paragraph. We begin it with an introductory sentence, then we present the thesis, and then the supporting points. Now, we already have our main point, and we already have our supporting points, so we already have parts 2 and 3. Now, all we need to do is add an introductory sentence. So here's our complete introductory paragraph. And notice that the first sentence is the introductory sentence that we just added. Photography is a powerful medium that allows to make an important statement visually. We're making another very general statement, and we're going straight into the main point. This photo conveys the message that humanity must be mindful of the ecological future of our planet for the sake of the children all over the world. There's our main point right there. And finally, in part 3, we're doing the supporting points. The photographer uses the images of children to symbolize the future. That's number 1. The non-human elements, right? Number 2, in the photos symbolize life and planet Earth. And finally, the author connects ideas represented by these images to get the message across. And there's your complete introductory paragraph. And here's how to write a conclusion paragraph. Now, the easiest way to write a conclusion is to restate your main and supporting points. There we go. Here's an example. In sum, the author chose the images of children and young plants to convey the message that the future of our planet depends on what people think and do today. And yes, your conclusion can be just one sentence. Again, that depends on the total length of your essay. If it's super short, then one sentence will do. If it's a really long essay, then you may need to write 2, 3, 5 sentences in your conclusion paragraph. All right, I hope this was helpful, and I've written a complete tutorial on essay writing for beginners, which you can read on my blog. So if you're struggling with essay writing in general or need to learn from scratch, I strongly recommend this tutorial, and I'll include the link in the description. I'll see you guys in the next video.